Come on, two more. Last one.
All right, BJ crew, we just wrapped up a really good bench day. Absolutely solid day. Worked up to 400 pounds for my top set for a single. Felt really good, really smooth. Obviously, we were outside today, just enjoying the outside gym. Got it done. It was a great lift. Definitely did some awesome variations today for some different workouts. Went from the bench press, obviously worked up to a top set, then moved into an incline, somewhat of like a skull crusher JM press variation. Really like those. Again, that felt really, really good. I have not, I don't think I've ever really tried that specific movement, but overall it was a great lift there. From there, moved over into some back work. I used a log press for my my back rows, so it was like a log press, bent over row, whatever you want to call it. Those felt really good. Then I did some shoulder work and did some log pressing. That felt really good too. I'm really going to get into more of the log pressing and doing some push presses, log presses, different things like that for the shoulder work. But again, that was just a start to something I'm going to add into this strength routine, but really good and solid overall. Really like that movement. And then I finished up with some sled work. This is probably, the sled work that I did today was probably some of the best sled work. I love that movement. That sled work variation is absolutely awesome. I have a close grip lat pull down handle attached to the sled, and I pull it, obviously doing kind of a reverse, so I'm pulling it backwards. So I'm doing a close grip, row with it, but also, again, using my legs in that motion. I did several rotations of that, worked up to 4 plates on the sled. Felt really awesome, really good cardio. Definitely just an overall great movement to do to kind of end the workout. So a solid day today training. It's time to eat. I am out, obviously, in my garage. This is a nice area we like to spend some time in when the weather's nice. So I'm out here. I have some protein pancakes cooking. So we're going to get these protein pancakes cooked up. I definitely got to feed right now after that workout. Got to get the nutrition in. So we have some protein pancakes. I'm going to throw some eggs on as well. So we're going to do that. And then I have some other things as well. So I'm going to finish up these protein pancakes, get the eggs going, and we'll see you guys in just a few seconds. All right, so the first meal, post-workout meal, we have 2 protein pancakes, 4 whole eggs. I have 2 apples, 2 tangerines. I have some special K cereal here, and going to do some whole milk with that. A little bit of ketchup for the eggs, and then some syrup for the protein pancakes. So I'm going to get this stuff rolling. Just one thing I wanted to kind of touch on today or talk about today is let's talk about diets. Let's talk about in specific, let's talk about strength diets compared to and/or versus like a bodybuilding diet. Now, as many of you know, I am not a bodybuilder. I have spoke on this so many times. I am not a bodybuilder. I am not a professional athlete. Right now, I'm in a strength training cycle. So obviously, the comparison of the strength training diet compared to the bodybuilding diet, and I'm just using the bodybuilding as context to give you kind of an idea as we talk about this. But obviously, I am in a strength training routine, so it will directly kind of correlate with the dieting and the current diet that I'm eating as well. But let's just talk about kind of the difference between a strength diet and then, again, like I said, a bodybuilding diet. And I'm sorry I sound like a broken record, but one last time, the only reason I'm using a bodybuilding diet is just to put this conversation into context. So when we look at this, the comparison between a strength diet and like a bodybuilding diet, I look at it in 3 specific areas. One of the areas that I really focus on when it comes to a difference between a bodybuilding diet and a strength diet is I like to really emphasize and look at my metabolism. Again, this is my own personal view, my own perspective. I am not a nutritionist. I'm not a diet guru or anything like that. Again, this is just based on my opinion, my perspective, and come from basically my experience. So the first area that I look at is metabolism. So what's the difference between a strength diet when I talk about metabolism and like a bodybuilding diet? So what's the difference? In a strength diet, I am looking to slow my metabolism down just a little bit. As opposed to a bodybuilding diet, you would want to keep that metabolism fired up and going. So in a strength diet, I'm looking to slow it down just a bit because I want to conserve explosive energy. I want to be able, again, I'm not looking to look a certain way, or I am not a bodybuilder when I'm talking about strength. I want to be explosive and I want to conserve energy. So I want to slow my metabolism down. I want to hang on to the additional storage and the additional calories that I can in order to be strong. Now, that's not necessarily holding on to those calories to gain weight. It's more or less a different type of energy that I want to utilize. Where opposed in a bodybuilding diet, you want to increase the metabolism and keep things burning. You want to be in kind of a thermogenic state all the time where you're constantly burning so that you can cut fat down, right? I mean, if you're bodybuilding, you want to reduce fat. You want to, again, try to get as lean as possible, right? So the difference that I look at between those two, strength diet and a bodybuilding diet, is I look at metabolism. And how do I do that? Well, as many of you know, I try to keep things as simple as possible. So when I talk about metabolism, very simple process. So a strength diet and controlling metabolism for a strength diet would look like trying to slow it down. So I want to eat larger meals. Again, that means maybe my meals, I reduce the number of meals, but they're a little bit larger meals. So let's say I eat in a strength diet 4 or 5 meals a day. Those meals will be a little bit larger, and then I'll spread out the length in between meals rather than eating more frequently. So let's say in a strength diet, I am eating every 2.5 hours, rather than in a bodybuilding diet, I'm eating every 1.5 to 2 hours, right? So I want to lengthen the time in between meals, but the meals will be larger. There'll be more food in those meals, all right? Less meals, more food, longer time in between. Where opposed to a bodybuilding diet, maybe I'm eating 6 or 7 meals, okay? They're smaller meals and I'm eating them more frequently, right? So right there is a difference in how you can manipulate the metabolism between the two. And again, there's a perfect, the number one thing that I look at when I compare the two diets is metabolism, slowing it down. And that really works for me. So one thing that I'm focused on right now in this strength training routine is really conserving as much energy as possible, eating a little bit more food in my meals, less meals, and then I have a longer time in between meals. So that's one difference right now that I'm looking at. And then overall, in my opinion, there's one area that you can look at, the difference between a strength diet and a bodybuilding diet. The second area that I look at when we compare the two between a strength diet and a bodybuilding diet is I look at carbohydrates. That becomes a huge thing for me. And again, like I said, when we talk about bodybuilding diet, as you know, I could care less what I look like. I'm not a bodybuilder. But again, as far as training, if I want to get leaner and not really focus so much on strength where I'm trying to hold on to body mass and weight moves weight, as I look at a bodybuilding style and or trying to get leaner, I really focus on carbohydrates. In a strength diet, I've increased my carbohydrates quite a bit. I'm holding on to a lot of water. I'm hovering around 250 to 255 pounds right now, which is a great weight for me, but I really focus on the carbohydrates. I've said so many times in No Days Off, the 245 days of No Days Off, that I am extremely lucky that I can do really well training on extremely low to no carbs at all. So if I'm on the leaner side, and the difference again as I talk about strength and bodybuilding diets, the second part being carbohydrates, I really reduce the amount of carbohydrates I'm eating. Many of you seen the refeed days. Those are usually days in which I restore, refuel, and re-energize the body on the refeed days as I go into a deficit for the majority of the week. In my strength side of things, with the strength training cycle right now, my carbohydrates are up, which means I'm not hitting a deficit like I would be in a bodybuilding and or a kind of leaning out type of diet. So there's the second point, is I really focus on the carbohydrates. And again, let's just, again, for me, let's say, you know, in a strength diet, I'm eating anywhere between 350 to maybe 500 grams of carbohydrates. And then in a bodybuilding or a lean kind of diet type deal, I would be leaning towards, you know, probably 150 to maybe even no carbs. I've gone weeks and weeks and weeks with extremely low to no carbs as well, and I function really well, and I lean out really, really fast. So there's a second kind of difference between a strength diet and a so-called bodybuilding diet, is the amount of carbohydrates that are in your meals and what you're eating in your diet. So that's number two. The third component, as I smash my eggs, the third component I look at is sodium. I wouldn't say it's the most important. I think the metabolism, I'm running these in sequence. Metabolism, carbohydrates, again, this is the difference. And then the third one being the sodium. In a bodybuilding or a leaning kind of phase, again, for me, as I adapt into that, I really reduce the amount of sodium that's in my diet. So I really like to reduce the amount of sodium in my diet, whereas opposed to a strength training diet, I like to increase my sodium. Again, anywhere between 3,000 milligrams to, I don't know. Again, I'm not too specific on the amount of sodium. All I know is that I'll begin adding sodium and or eating higher sodium foods in a strength training diet, where opposed to a bodybuilding or a leaning out diet, I really focus on reducing the amount of sodium, unless I feel myself really getting depleted and I need to start kind of, again, getting hydrated, holding on to more water, so I start manipulating the sodium in my diet. But for the most part, I really cut back on the sodium. And in a strength training diet, I increase the sodium. And why do I do that? Well, I increase the sodium so that I can keep the muscles and the joints and everything as full as possible, keep a lot of water in there. Obviously, I've been through many phases of sodium manipulation and depletion, water loading, depleting out, cutting weight, been there, done it all. But again, overall, during a strength training routine and diet, I like to keep my sodium relatively high. And I'm not talking crazy high, but high enough to where the body's staying hydrated with the amount of water that I'm drinking. I want to make sure that the body is retaining and holding on to the water as best as possible, because that has a huge carryover when I'm strength training, especially when I start pushing heavier weight. Having that water in the system is just huge. So again, there's just a little spiel. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm sure there'll be some disagreements, agreements, your own opinions on this little talk. But for the most part, this is just one thing I just wanted to hit, because I think it's important when we look at this, again, depending on what you're looking to do. Overall, as you know, the goal here is just to continue to love to train, changing things up, again, in this strength training cycle. I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a good time doing it. But again, just some conversation as I eat my post-workout meal here and enjoy this food. So again, just a little talk that I wanted to share with you guys. So with that, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I'm going to finish this meal here. I got a few things going on today. And as you can see, I'm just enjoying the fresh air out in the garage. Again, the gym, the outside gym is literally right over there. So it's just nice. I got kind of a little kitchen here. I got the gym. So I'm just enjoying myself. So I'm going to finish this food up, and we will see you guys for the next video.